And thanks for watching tonight. Make no mistake, Occupy Wall Street has already dwarfed the Tea Party. It's not even close. The 99% movement now spans 82 countries over 5 continents, according to organizers. Protesters in London are settling in after the third day. There are demonstrations in France, Italy, and Germany. And we over here, what does all this mean? In Sydney, the banners looked very familiar. We are the 99%. There were protests in Asia and Latin America this weekend. Here in New York, thousands of protesters flooded Times Square. And in Washington, at the dedication of Dr. Martin Luther King Monument, King's daughter said her father stood for both racial and economic justice.
Where he was galvanizing poor people from all walks of life to converge on this nation's capital and stay here and occupy this place until there was change in the economic system and a better distribution of wealth. We should never adjust to the 1% controlling more than 40% of the wealth.
Let's bring in the editor and publisher of The Nation magazine, Katrina vanden Heuvel. This week's issue of The Nation takes a special look at the movement. Tell us about that.
You know, I was in Bloomington, Indiana, Ed, this past weekend, and to sit there and watch what was happening around the globe and around this country gives a sense of the scale and the scope of what's going on. We are no longer a Tea Party nation. We are no longer a Tea Party world. And I was reminded of something that on the eve of the run-up to the war in Iraq, there was a sense of the other superpower. Millions of people in this country and around the world saying they wanted a different world. And Occupy Wall Street across this country, across the world, has captured the imagination. And in coalition with other groups, it is supercharging. What you know, what you've been covering has been happening in this last year. From Tahrir Square to Madison to Ohio to Washington to Spain, we're seeing a world that understands the real deficit is not what the austerity class is telling us. It's a democracy deficit. It's a deficit of jobs. It's a deficit of dignity for working people. And it's a deficit when 99% of the people in this world, in this country, are not getting what they rightly work for and need.
It's been a month. How long will it go? I mean, is this going to go through the election? Is this going to go until there's real change? I mean, there's some things coming up. You got Senate Bill 5 in Ohio. You got the recall of the governor in Wisconsin. You've got the tax issue here in New York, which is going to be in front of the Assembly coming up in December. But I mean, what is this?
But Occupy Wall Street is, listen, a protest is powerful because of the moral demands, the moral issues. Not the specifics of the agenda. Yeah. But what it's doing, as I said, is it's supercharging the work that hundreds of other groups, whether it's fighting for mortgage relief or student debt or Medicare for all, other groups in arduous toil in this country have been doing for months, if not years. And it's giving them the lift. It's that coalition, Ed. Occupy Wall Street may not issue demands, so I believe that power does not concede without demands, but other groups, and now entering, you know, the political gravity, the political landscape has been reshaped. You were talking about President Obama. Elizabeth Warren, running in Massachusetts, is channeling in ways this language.
Is she the model right now on how to capture on this? Because
as a candidate.
Yeah, but I mean, okay, let's take someone who wants to lead, who wants to be in public service, someone who wants to do the work of the people, the populist. How do you gather these folks to say, you're the one we want?
But, you know, change in this country, Ed, has come about through energized people from below, fused with people inside, like in Elizabeth Warren, like those in the Progressive Caucus who have a people's budget. That is when change comes about. But it's also when you have a country in desperate need, and you have to find ways to channel the issues that you know have been subsumed to talk of deficits and debt, manufactured crises. So I think the political space is now open. The media is finally paying attention to other movements. It was all Tea Party until now. It did a disservice to people in this country. You travel this country. There are people, good, decent people, who are trying to find a way in this country and aren't getting represented. Working America. You know Working America? It's the AFL affiliate, which organizes non-union workers in workplaces. It has recruited 25,000 people in the last week because of the visibility of Occupy Wall Street. Mm-hmm. This is interesting because it's white, working class, moderate people, Ohio, Michigan, Wisconsin. They're looking at the issues. And the right wing is going to focus. The backlash will be ferocious. They're going to fix on people's clothes and their music and this and that. What we need to focus on is the real deficit in this country of jobs and democracy. And stay focused and fuse it. And this is where some of my colleagues will disagree. You got to have the movement energy, and you got to have the electoral energy. And you got to have the short term, and you have to have the long term. In the short term, we need to do deep reform. In the long term, what's really broken in this country is the system, but not in the way the media tells us.
Let me, I bet in Bloomington, Indiana, you ran into the attitude of, it's about time.
It's about time.
I mean, that's what I'm hearing. It's about time somebody stand up and do something, and people are amazed that this is continuing to grow. It's exciting times. You know, I was 14, 15 years old when all these demonstrations were going on with the Vietnam War, and you think, okay, they're over with, and then there'll be another one next week, and then there'll be another massive one 3 days later. I mean, it shaped policy.
That's right.
It shaped policy in this country.
And that's what has shaped our history. But it's movements that find their time and their place. Yeah. And how it evolves it's unknown, but it is reshaping the pull of gravity of our political landscape.
Look forward to your work in the nation. Thanks, Katrina. Thanks so much for joining us tonight. Up next in Psycho Talk, Mike Huckabee says voter suppression is the way for Republicans to win in Ohio. He might be joking, but a lot of his buddies are dead serious. And this is a photo Mitt Romney would rather you didn't see. It helps explain why Wall Street is giving him 5 times as much more money for his campaign than President Obama. Stay with us.